Good evening.
Good evening.
Estamos no nosso webinar internacional. It will gonna be a kind of bilingual or maybe a little bit in English, pouquinho em português. O nosso convidado é o Laurent Kurylo, que é francês. Então, ele está aqui para falar do tema de hoje, do nosso webinar, que é estratégia, pensamento sistêmico e estratégia, né? Como vocês viram, né? Então, o webinar então, é System Thinking for Strategy and Transformation. Esse é o tema de hoje. O Laurent, ele compreende um pouco de português, então se vocês quiserem fazer as perguntas no chat ou no Q&A, vocês podem fazer em português, a gente passa para ele aqui, tá certo? You can also ask in English, that's okay. Meu nome é Fernando Nascimento, eu sou professor aqui na FIA. Trabalho junto aos cursos de inovação e empreendedorismo e então tenho organizado alguns desses webinars. Hoje esse tema é importante, então a gente está aqui com o Laurent, que ele é engenheiro de formação, ele é consultor por vocação, expert em estratégia, inovação, pensamento sistêmico, tem formação desde a estratégia de guerra, do campo de batalha, até mesmo inteligência artificial quando estava nos primórdios, né? So I'm gonna pass the word to our to Laurent, who is going to introduce the team. And if you want to say some words about yourself, feel free.
Okay, first.
Okay.
So first, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you
for this conference. Subject is very, very important for companies, and I will try to do my best to share my knowledge on this subject, and possibly make sure that people get interested on to leverage this approach. Okay. So today I'm going to show our system thinking, which is a way to look at the different situation we see with a complete holistic perspective, and on how this can be used for strategy and transformation. Okay. So the goal is to be able to solve complex problems and also validate key decisions with the help of systemic modeling. Okay. So first thing is that I think we already covered the expectations already. I'm going to cover the fundamentals, explaining what is the why system thinking, okay, how it works, the competency requires, give you some simple example, explain the benefits show some applications, and then we will go through two examples, two real life examples. One which is like a post-mortem analysis of a company which succeeded and later died. We are going to see why. And the second example is a real case example of a company which has used a system thinking to resolve an organizational problem and improve their efficiency and effectiveness. Okay. And then if you have time, I will welcome your questions. Feel free to interrupt if you have a very important question, and I will be able to address your questions, concerns, whatever you have. Okay. So let's start. If you have been in companies for some times, whether it's a public or private companies, we usually hear some feedback about decisions that have been made that don't produce the expected results. Okay, we see, for example, what we do sometimes, or very often, break something somewhere else. We have sometimes we think we have shot ourselves in the foot, right? That the way we have resolved the situation has actually not been successful, and has made the situation worse, and also complexify the problem as well. Sometimes we hear also that we have the impression that we shifted the problem somewhere else. We also many times encounter unexpected consequences that we could not foresee, or we have not been able to foresee, and that comes back to us later on. Okay, sometimes we think what we do has been resolved, but it comes back, and it's worse. Okay, another thing we hear is that we don't think that the solution that we used in the past for the same problem works again, and we don't know why. Okay, which leads sometimes to think that there must be some vicious circle, but once again, we've not been able to put our hand on it, to the conclusion that sometimes we are even wondering if we are not pursuing the wrong goal. Okay. To finally discover that everything we've tried so far has not reversed the situation. Well, obviously, we don't hear all of this maybe 10 sentences every time, every day on each situation, but it's very frequent, and I'm sure that everyone here has already heard some of these many times in their working life. Okay, so system thinking, as the goal is to resolve that. So why we see this feedback is because most problems are complicated. We say they are weak, and they are not very well easy to understand, and they are characterized by 4 difficulties that accumulate. Okay, the first one is that we don't have a real agreement on the what. Okay, which define the problem. The second one is when we seek who is responsible as authority, accountability on the problem. It's a lot of stakeholders. The third one is the why. Okay, we have difficulties to understand the real cause of the problem. And finally, how to resolve it. There are many solutions possible, but we don't really know which one will be the best and the more straightforward. So when we see these 4 things, it's the indication that we have a weak problem to resolve at hand. Okay, so on why is it this way? It's because there are also, once again, 4 intertwined characteristics that makes them difficult to understand and solve. The first one is that the issue cannot be easily determined because there are multiple and interrelated connections and causes. Okay, the context also, which are the conditions and the constraints which affects the problem, are also evolving over time. Next thing is the actors. We have many stakeholders. Some of them have contrasted or sometimes conflicting values, perspective, agendas, directions, or actions, which does not make it easy to answer. On the solutions that we can foresee, they have all consequences. They will all affect the problem, and they all have trade-offs. So we have to decide what is the best solution to put in place. Okay. Now, system thinking brings 3 key competencies to improve the quality of the analysis and the quality of the decision. And it's actually the right competency, I will say, for a VUCA world. Okay, so let's see again what is VUCA. Everyone has seen that. We have complexity because a lot of things are interconnected. It's volatile, so it changes very often in an unpredictable way, very, very rapidly. It's also ambiguous, trying to understand the real meaning behind everything on the right interpretation is sometimes very difficult as well. And the next thing is that we have difficulties to ascertain the future because it's unpredictable, and we have difficulties to foresee events and outcomes. Okay, I'm not going to give here examples, but you know exactly what I am talking about. So system thinking brings 3 competencies. The first is holism. Holism is the ability to see above the wall. Okay, Aristotle has said that the wall is above its part. Sometimes people say it's more than its part, but it's above, it's something else. Okay, so once you understand the closed loop dependencies, the circularities of the causal relationship, the interaction and connection, you see a behavior which is the global behavior of the system, and you start understanding why is it evolving over time this way. Okay, so this competency is to avoid short-sightedness. So you are going to focus not just on the tree, but on the forest. Okay. The second one, I call that pluralism. Okay, why pluralism? Because we've seen that we always have a lot of stakeholders. Okay, and they have contrasted perspective. They don't see things in the same way. It's the Gödel, Escher, and Bach cube, where everyone see one letter depending on from where you see the cube. It's the same cube we are looking at, but from different perspective. Okay, so that enables to surmount the divergence. And the last thing is criticism. Okay, criticism is the way to have a reflection on the way we are making our judgment. You know, the frontier, the boundaries, the relevance of what we observe, on the value we bring when we look at things. Okay. So we could say that system thinking is the only way also to account for past and future dynamics. With the common tools that we are using in the business world, which are mostly static, we cannot answer those three questions. Why was it like that? Okay, so really explaining the historical performance and the result. We cannot really explain where is it heading, providing that we don't change anything. How can we really forecast realistically the performance and the results without any change? And the last question is how to get there. To get there with confidence, okay? Knowing really what needs to be changed to trigger the right results on the change performance within the set time frame, okay? There is no way we can do that with a static analysis, the traditional common tools, which are very important for us, like pastels, SWOTs, business modeling, and many things. But we have to complement these tools, which are static, with a more dynamic approach. This is the subject of this presentation. So we can say that traditional approaches are ineffective and insufficient to address the real complexity of our environment. So let's take an example. Usually, the traditional thinking goes like that. We have, for example, a profit target. We have observed a decreased profit. So we have a shortfall of our financials. So we decide, for example, to do downsizing, because we know that if we don't do downsizing, we will reduce the headcount. Reducing the headcount will improve the profit because we will have less people to pay for the same amount of sales. And that works this way. Okay, this is actually can be translated from a system perspective in terms of goals. Decreased profit is the situation. Financial shortfall is the discrepancy between the goal and the situation. Downsizing is the decision that we've made. Reducing outcome is the action that we are going to take. And improved result improved profit is the result that we are seeking. Okay. Now, everyone can see that this is very linear. Okay, it's a reactive mindset, and it's also a nearsighted view. So, if we look at that, we can see that it does not capture the complex dynamic. It does not account for any type of retroaction, and it does not give us the ability to see the whole. Okay, so when you look from a system thinking perspective, we will be able to grasp the real dynamics and therefore being able to address the real complexity. Why? I'm going to take the same example. So we have the goal, we have the situation, we have the discrepancy. This discrepancy will involve a decision, which will be resolved through an action. This action will address the situation. We see here that we have a circularity, but see, the action will have also an impact on other situations somewhere else. That's for sure. This action has also its own goal, its own other discrepancies, will make other decisions. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's other people. It can be within or outside your department, even outside your company, but it's going to come back. They will make decisions for actions that to resolve their own situations, which will also impact your situation. So you see here that I have not changed the factors. I'm just looking at it differently from a nonlinear perspective, with the proactive mindset on a foresighted view. Why? Because we want to capture the complex dynamics. We want to be able to account for retroactions, and we want to have a foresighted view that gives us the ability to see the whole, these other things that we are going to interact with. Okay. So now, causal loop modeling is one of the tools of system thinking. There are many models, but the most prevalent. It enables us to really understand the problems and ensure the validity of the solution. So let's go back to that. We have financial targets, okay? All of these can be seen as cause and effect, okay? We have financial shortfall, so downsizing was decided as the solution. We do the headcounts, the cost, on the profit margin. Obviously, the less we have people, the less costs are. So now we have two types of relations. We have two types of cause and effect, sorry. We have objective and goals, okay? Financial target is our objective, okay? The choice that we've made is downsizing. And once we have the objective set up on the decision made, decision that have been made or will be made, everything is an impact. Things will occur like that, okay? Now, we have to characterize the links between all these cause and effect. You see that downsizing is the cause of headcounts, but financial shortfall is the cause of the cause, okay? And if you circulate, the cause is its own cause, right? That's the circularity. So we have two types of relationship. We have proportional effect, okay? The more I do that, the more I add that. And conversely, the less I add that, the less I add that, okay? We have a relation like that with headcounts related to cost, okay? The more headcounts, the more cost. The less headcounts, the less cost, okay? It's very simple. Now we have opposite proportional effect, okay? The more I have that, the less I have that. The less I have that, the more I have that, okay? So it's opposite in nature. So for example, the most cost I have, the less profit margin. The most profit margin I have, the less financial shortfall, provided that the financial target less stays stable. The more I have of financial shortfall, the more I have an interest, for example, in doing downsizing. In downsizing, will reduce the headcount. So it's very simple, you know. But we are materializing the relationship on the type of relationship. So now you have delays, okay? Downsizing will take some time to materialize. So that's a D, okay? And we have balancing on reinforcing loop. Balancing loop is something that will compensate. It's like your air conditioning system, you know? Once it gets too hot, it triggers the air conditioner and it will lower the temperature in your room. If you count the number of red arrows, which are opposite direction relationship, if you have an odd number, then in that case, like 1 or 3 or 5, then you have a balancing loop because two relationships will compensate with each other. We have also reinforcing loop. We don't have that on this diagram, but we will see on the next page. I'm going to show you some examples. Okay. Now, if we look at the complication that downsizing might bring, okay. First, we have the moral impact because see, people have been working together. Today they see that downsizing is beginning there. They might be the next on the list. They've already lost some people that they like around them. It does not improve the productivity and the quality of the work, and then will not improve the cost. Here you see a reinforcing loop, okay, which will work against the balancing loop of the downsizing, okay. But that's not all. We have also the knowledge and skills that we've lost. We know now for a fact that when we release people, after 18 months, we need to recruit more people and we have to train them again. It's going to get more cost, okay? So it does not improve the productivity and the work quality, and therefore the cost. This is yet another reinforcing loop that works against the balancing loop of the downsizing. And then we have the work duration and intensity. We work for a longer time with a higher speed. This will create fatigue with the delay. This fatigue will not improve the productivity and the work quality, okay? But then we also have the problem with the sales and the revenue, you know, because if productivity and work quality goes down, the sales and revenue will go down as well. So it will not help the profit margin. And now there is another tricky effect is that sometimes in your team, you have people that, for example, are not part of the sales team, but because they like your company, they were implicitly making some sales. That they have contact and relationship, okay, which you are going to lose as well, which is not going to help the sales and revenue, which is once again another loop, reinforcing loop that works against the balancing loop. Now, the fact that the arrows are red or green, that the loops are balancing or reinforcing is not good or bad in itself. The context says what we want to do, on what effect will be triggered. Okay, so now, the good thing about that is that in this type of modeling, we can have hard factors like cost, profit margin, okay, financial shortfalls, but we can also have short factors like morale, fatigue. Okay, usually in the model we use, we only have hard factors. Having soft factors, it's very difficult to materialize. Okay, now if I go back to the small sentences that I said we hear very often in the corridor or in the cafeteria, what we do sometimes often break something somewhere, something elsewhere. These are these two loops. Okay, we feel we have shot ourselves on the foot, yes, because now we have less knowledge and skills. Okay, our solution has aggravated the problem, yeah, because we thought we will get some profit margin back, but it's not going to happen because these other effects are going to get triggered with some delays, but will compensate for the gain you were trying to achieve. Okay, so we think that sometimes we just shifted the problem somewhere else, that unexpected and unintended consequences like these guys that we are doing implicitly sales for you are gone now. Okay, we thought it was resolved, it's coming back, it's for this time. We've done downsizing in the past, but maybe not to this scale, maybe not at this time. This time, it's not working, okay? And there is a vicious circle because we have not been able to see all these older, tricky, unwarranted effects, side effects, I will say. So we don't know what is going on. And so sometimes we are even wondering if doing downsizing was the right thing, to the extent that sometimes we say we've done everything and it has not solved the problem. Okay, so when we look at this example, it's a very small example. We can look at it from a patterns perspective. Patterns are models of models. They are archetypes, types of models. They explain the situation that are at hand. Here we have two patterns. Okay, the first one is fix that fail. Okay, so we have the urgency of a solution of a problem. We are going to find some short-term relieving effects. This will resolve the urgency or the gravity of the problem to reach the desired state that we have, but these have side effect that will have a side effect that on what you are trying to achieve. Okay, what you see here, the symbol I use are actually magnets that I've developed to help people do systemic modeling on the blackboard. Okay, so each of them, the C, the I, are magnet, B, C, the D. Okay, on these are sheets, where I have more than 90 patterns where you can delve into to find the typical situation in which you are. Okay. Okay, next one is shift the burden. So we had a problem. The urgency has led to an urgency of the solution, which have resolved the symptomatics, the symptoms. It's what we call a symptomatic solution, which has prevented us to put in place the fundamental solution to really resolve the problem. On top of that, the symptomatic solution has side effect that will also complicate the possibility to put in place the fundamental solution. Okay, so you see, it's a very powerful way of understanding situations, understanding problems, and finding the best way to address issues. Okay, now, if you look at system thinking, we have 5 capabilities. Okay, it was in December we had Christmas. Every year, executives, they always have the same wishes. Okay, they say, "Oh, if we could grasp how things are really working." Okay, if I could only get to the root of the problem this year. Okay, if I could get everyone on board. Okay, that's difficult to do. Okay, if we could find how to make things happen, and how we could agree, if I could see beforehand the consequences of what's going to happen. Okay, the good thing is that system thinking is actually solving this. Okay, first thing is that it will bring insightfulness. Okay, it will be able to understand the global dynamics. It will also be able to bring appropriateness. We are going to address the core of the issue. Okay. The other things that I've already covered before is inclusiveness. We are going to be able to bring everyone on board. We have different perspectives, but we are going to talk. We are going to do this type of modeling together. We are going to engage and we are going to align the stakeholders. The other thing is to make things happen, we are going to see what is the right and effective solution, you know, because that's very important to find where to put the effort to get things resolved, okay? And we are going to see very far with some foresightedness. We are going to proactively anticipate all the implications, okay? So we can say that it generates 3 benefits, okay, to bring the right intervention. The first thing is that we are going to fully address the problem, okay? We're going to try to resolve once and for all persisting and recurring problems, okay? We are going to try to avoid ineffectiveness, okay, to overcome it. So avoid any inefficacious or counterproductive solutions. And we are going to also try to prevent to see side effects. So we are going to avert the side effect. So preventing unexpected, unintended, adverse consequences. And when we start doing that, suddenly we hear people saying, oh, this at least a sustainable solution. We hear them, oh, this time it works as intended. Or even worse, or even better, I will say, nothing has been broken elsewhere this time, okay? So it's a very powerful approach. So it has been used in many domains, okay? I'm going to simplify. It has been used from a strategy perspective, okay? A business strategy, business turnaround, go-to-market, market forecasting, on market dynamics, okay? In the last column, you will see work that I have done. The last 4 columns are the work that I have not done, okay? Transformation is when you want to resolve organizational problems. So operational improvements for flight maintenance, flight operations at Boeing. Dupont, it's the case that we are going to discuss later on. Supply chain management, project management, B2B sales effectiveness, okay? For policy, we have the major global organization who are doing that, you know, like OECD, the World Bank, World Health Organization. I work for the CNES to help them understand the new dynamics of the new space, which has nothing to do. It's very different from what was done before. I've done a full model of the upstream, midstream, and downstream of the new space industry. Okay. Okay. Now, systemic modeling really helps to do 2 things. Okay, we can assess and validate strategies on business model. I'm going to take an example with People Express. People Express, it was a line which started after the deregulation that occurred in the United States in 1987. It was the first to operate in 1991. It has a business model very interesting with a low price and very good quality of with no freight, but a good service. They were really interested to serve well people. People were very versatile, cross-utilization. Their job was very interesting. The culture was very great. They were able to grow very fast, you know. In just that 5 years, they achieved 1 billion of annual revenues. Okay, they opened a lot of new routes. They bought another hub in Denver. Originally, they were in New York. And after that, in February 1st, everything fell down. So we are going to do the retrospective analysis and understand why. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the modeling. Okay. So an airline is very simple. You have passenger. This passenger will define the utilization rates. How many people you have in your airplanes. This will define your operating costs. And if your operating costs are low, you will be able to provide low fare, which will in time create reputation for low fare, which will bring additional passengers that will think next time I'm using these guys, which will create passenger booking and will trigger passengers. Here on this example, you see that I have put a little bit more information because I put some markers on these symbols. The triangles are actually flows. There are things that are going to change a level. The square are stocks, things that can increase or decrease over time. And the rest are just transformation variables, which we call converters. I have changed the notation of system thinking modeling to be able to account for the notation that we use after for numerical simulation, which is called stack and flow, which I discovered is virtually very difficult to use with executive. This, I can do that with executive. I have done it many times and it works very well. Okay, so I just closed the parenthesis. So now, if we look at this, this is the first balancing loop. So now operating cost defines also the profit. With that, we can invest on the physical capacity, depending of the gross goals. Physical capacity is actually the fleet size, how many planes you have, the schedule flights, how many rotation you do, okay? On the 8 counts, how many people you have, okay? This will trigger an effect on the cost, because the more you invest on the physical capacity, the less you will have profit, okay? So this is some kind of a balancing loop, okay? On the physical capacity will bring you the ability to have more passengers, okay? Okay. So you have two other reinforcing loops. This is like of the growth structure, okay? Now, passengers bring sales, sales bring profit, okay? That's just to complete this part. Now, if you have too much passengers, this will decrease the service quality. And if you want to have a good service quality, it's not responding, I don't know why. Let's see. Okay, service capability is having competent, experienced, and motivated people, okay? So once you have a good service quality, you establish a reputation for service quality. This will bring also passengers. Remember what I said before? The two tenets of People Express was a good quality and also a low price, okay? Now, if service quality starts to fall down because you don't retrain people on time, you are not able to recruit people, many things can occur. Just service quality standards is not achieved. So you want to improve the service quality, but it will take time, okay? And this will not materialize. So if the service capability goes down, this will affect, sorry. The more you increase your service capability, the more it increases the cost, okay? But also, if everything goes bad with the sales, okay, because of the service quality that goes down and you have less passengers, the profit sharing that was sold to people when they got hired, which created the motivation, will disappear. And so this will not help the service quality, okay? Now, look at that for a minute, okay? You have an airline with a very good business model, okay? They've never done this type of analysis, because if they would have done it, they would have seen the danger. The danger was not the growth, okay? The danger was the underinvestment, okay? Not being able to satisfy the quality with the growth, okay? And they would have been able to see that this arrow was actually the critical one to watch, you know, okay? So let's look at that from a pattern perspective, okay? You have two patterns. It's here you have you have growth and underinvestment. So here you see a very simple model, okay? It's what we call a pattern, okay? It's the model of the model, okay? The first part is the growth mechanism, okay? And the second part, which I've described with the service quality, is the growth inhibitor, something that will work against the growth, okay? So once you have this pattern, you can fully understand the risk that you have, fine-tune your business model, adjust your strategy, foresee beforehand where is it going, because good results sometimes are not a predictor of future good results, okay? Good? Okay, so this was the first example for strategy and business model. We can also use that to understand and address complex situations to resolve organizational problems. So I'm going to take here the case of DuPont. Okay, so DuPont had a problem in 1991. They were a big operator of chemical plant. You know, they were spending 10 to 30% more on maintenance per dollar of plant value than all the other competitors, and the uptime, how much time the plant is up and running, was 10 to 15% lower. Okay, they had also the highest number of employees for maintenance per dollar of plant value, and yet their mechanics were working many more time, many more hours than the others, and they had huge spare inventories, excessive, and yet they also were buying a lot. So this is the indication of a real problem. So the solution they adapted was to take a bigger perspective, because soon they realized that the day-to-day tools that they were using for planning, scheduling, and monitoring and everything were not sufficient to really understand the real behavior and dynamics at play within their plants. So they used a causal model, which I'm going to present, to really understand how things were working. And through that, they were able to define new policies and implement some cultural changes. Okay, so the results were there. Just after 1 year, okay, they've been able to reduce their maintenance cost by 20%, boost their production capability by 20%, and cut the delivery lead time, the time it takes to get the good delivered, by 50%. Okay, so this is the real proof that system thinking can provide very good benefits and very quickly as well. Okay, now this was a little bit tricky, and I will explain why. Because sometimes to get some good result, you need to accept that at the beginning it will get worse before it gets better. Okay. Now let's look at the model. It's a little bit more complex model. I've simplified it for this presentation, but it's very representative. So we have parts that will wear and tear over time. Okay, this will create defect. This defect will create equipment defect. And equipment defect will create a breakdown rate for which we need to correct through reactive maintenance. And we will do the repair of those failures. We'll remove equipment defects. Okay. Now, this is reactive maintenance. Okay. But when there is a breakdown, there is collateral damage. Sometimes something that breaks something else somewhere else. Okay. Which creates a new defect, okay, which increases the reactive maintenance. And if you have to correct some defect in the plant, sometimes you have to take down some part of the plant or the entire plant, okay? So the plant uptime goes down, okay? And because it goes down, you have pressure to keep it running and to remove the turnout. So you are too busy to do anything else than reactive maintenance, okay? So if we can schedule some takedown of the plant to do preventive maintenance effort, over time, we will eliminate these defects. We will have less reactive maintenance to perform, and in the long run, it will be better. But as I said before, in the short term, you will lose time and you will lose a little bit of money to be able to preemptively fix future defect. Okay. Now, if you do too much reactive maintenance, you don't have mechanics for preventive maintenance. Okay, so if you do the breakdown rate goes up, then the maintenance cost goes up. So you have pressure to cut cost. Okay, not to mention, I've not put that on the model, that sales goes down, profit goes down, and that's another part which I've not displayed here for simplification. But the pressure to cut down will also reduce the preventive maintenance effort. Okay, and then we go to a situation where the part quality will be decreased, which will create more defect. We have also the equipment quality, which will be lowered, which will also downgrade the equipment and create defects. On the preventive maintenance capability, it's a lot of things. I've just factorized things. It's training, capability building, scheduling, planning, and everything. This will be decreased, and then the preventive maintenance effectiveness will decrease. Okay, which will prevent you to eliminate defects. Okay, so based on that, you can see that the culture of preventive maintenance will get lost. We can come to the plants every day and say, this year, this week, this month, we are going to do preventive maintenance, guys. But it's not going to happen because the rush comes and then we are fighting the fires like every time. If we instill a preventive maintenance culture, we will increase the preventive maintenance effectiveness. We will have less defect to correct in the future because we will preemptively, that's the goal of preventive maintenance, they reduce this defect. On the preventive effective effort will over time create a preventive maintenance culture. Okay, so Here, you see why it was so difficult for executive of the plant and even the plant people to really understand what was going on, because it's a complex setting. Okay, so once you have the diagram, people say, "Oh, yeah, obvious. I can see that. I understand it." Oh no, but see, to display all this relationship, to understand this complex relationship, to see all this type of circularities, causal circularities. Okay, to pinpoint, elicit all these loops that are reinforcing or balancing things, to understand the global dynamics. You cannot do that without this type of modeling. Okay, and once you've done that, you can start to see things. So let's do the pattern analysis as we did before. Okay, here you have three things. Sorry, conflicting priorities. Okay, what should I do? Preventive maintenance? We have a fire on the plant. I cannot do that. I have to do reactive maintenance. I have to fix the defect. Okay. Here you see a simple structure which explains, okay, the more complex structure which is within the model, but basically it's just a synthesis. Okay. Next thing is investment dilemma. Should I continue to invest time, on effort, on money, on reactive maintenance, or should I complement it with preventive maintenance? Okay. We have a dilemma here that we need to fix. Okay. And the third thing is that, well, reactive maintenance is successful. So why should we do preemptive maintenance? Okay, it's called success to the successful. Where you work on what you do, it's like a cognitive bias. You continue doing the same thing because you think that's the right way to do, because you are doing it anyway, right? Okay, so system thinking is really a tremendous. It's more than an approach, it's a real competency. It's a new discipline, I will say. Okay. Now, if we go further, with that, we can do three types of interventions. Okay, that's actually what I do. We can do training. Okay, so we can get trained with sensibilization, basics, and practitioners. We can do consulting. Okay, consulting, it can be inside consulting. People can consult themselves or ask people from the outside to help them to do strategy definition, transformation design, policy settings, or even develop within the company a practice of system thinking. Okay, and there is also coaching that can be done. There are a lot of experts in this world that can help you assess, review, guide you in this type of modeling. Okay, so now I'm completed with that. So if you want to know more about it, okay, if you want to know the way we do it, okay, or if you want to help, I get help with it, you can contact me. Okay, in my company, we do many things. We revive the growth, we accelerate takeoffs, we conquer new markets, we help you realize turnarounds. Okay, so that you can achieve your goals with a winning strategy, transformation setup for success. Okay. Good. A little bit long, but I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Laurent. Muito obrigado. It's very interesting subject, and of course the practical way that you approach it to companies, so it will be valuable for business. Interesting. Vocês têm perguntas, pessoal? Falei, podem perguntar em português se vocês quiserem aqui no chat ou no QIA, né, no Q&A que tem aqui. Pode perguntar mesmo em português, a gente faz. O Laurent entende português, né? Está circulando aqui no Brasil por bastante tempo, né? Então, fiquem à vontade. I'm seeing I don't know if it's from Russia or somewhere. There's a name in the attendees. There's someone outside Brazil here. De onde vocês são? Vocês já conhecem a FIA? Vocês já são alunos? Estou vendo algumas pessoas aqui. Where are you from? Did you know FIA? Did you know Laurent? Please tell in the chat where you. What's your connection to us? Qual é a sua relação com a FIA? Escreve ali no chat rapidinho, se você estiver aí conectado ainda. Estou vendo aí para a gente saber aqui. Laurent, I think you have to spend some time with the executives giving classes about this subject so that they can get clear what is the idea of the causal loop diagram, for example. Is that true, or they accept the methodology once you present it to them?
Let me cut the stop sharing the screen. Okay.
Yeah.
It has been a long journey, okay? Because at the beginning, I've tried to understand what was the best way to do that with executive, okay? In the system thinking community, there are a lot of people doing simulations, okay? They use another type of notation, which is called stock and flow, which I found a little bit difficult to use with executives. So my first task was to find a way to use causal loop diagramming before, which we usually use before stock and flow, to be able to do that. But what I did with these small markers, remember I spoke about the triangle, the square for triangle for the flow, square for the stocks on shape for the circle for the converter. I've bought in the system thinking modeling, in the causal loop modeling, all the information that we have on the stock and flow diagram. If you've noticed as well, I have two types of arrows: double arrows, which I use for the stock and flows, and simple arrows, because sometimes the double arrows are like that. The more it grows, the more this will grow. But the slower it grows, the smaller this will grow. But it will always grow. Okay. Okay. So this is another type of relationship, which is not like the proportional or relationship.
Yeah.
So with this, I was well set up because I had all the information that we usually have in a simulation. On my models can be easily transformed into a stock and flow diagram almost instantaneously. We have a couple of more things to do, like finding the mathematical relationship for the causal loop, causal relationship. Okay, and then the next innovation I've done, and I've presented that 5 years ago, 5 years ago at the System Dynamics Society in London. I've shown them both innovation. I've added meta information about the information. So you've seen these small stickers, objectives, decisions, choices, okay, on impact. Okay, it's very simple, okay, because I want to do simple stuff, but this brings the key, because see, when you want to change a system, you have to think first about, is it the right objective? Okay, can I change my objective? Maybe sometimes you don't have to change the objective. Can I change the choices? Can I have more choices? Okay, I can show more example of this on this, and then I've tested it in training, at the Toulouse Business School. Sorry to talk about another school, but a good school as well. We've started to do that in some trainings that I was doing in the executive MBA, to sensibilize people about what is system thinking and help them manipulate a little bit. So it was a short-term training, so I cannot say that I've made expert doing that, but it has changed their view. A lot of people have used that in their work after that. Some of them have used this practice in their master thesis, so I think I've generated some interest here. Okay.
That's nice. There's a comment from Aurélio Andrade, eu vou ler em português. Boa noite, meus sócios são professores do curso de Economia Comportamental da FIA. Então, colegas, muito bem-vindos. E usam diferentes e complementares abordagens sistêmicas. São Rubens Bresciani e Adriana de Toledo, parabéns por darem ênfase a um assunto tão importante e pouco usado no Brasil. Is that pouco usado no Brasil? Do you agree? It's not much used
no,
in Brazil?
It's used in Brazil, but it's usually used for operational improvements through simulations, which is good. Nothing wrong with that. But I've not, in the world, you cannot see a lot of examples of systemic modeling that has been done for strategy on organizational transformation. It's very rare. Okay, very rare.
Yeah.
On part of that, it's the fact that the stock and flow notation is very cumbersome, very difficult to understand. It's not for common people. You have to practice it every day. Okay, so through my research, I've been able to simplify it, yet add more information that can bring discussion, very interesting discussion with stakeholders. I have also this, I call that the system thinking survival kit. You know, you've seen I told you it's magnets. On these magnets, you can use that on the board. You have a sheet also that you can use to check the patterns. You know, in the books, I found roughly 16 to 20 patterns. In my survival kit, I have more than 96 patterns. You know, I've done a lot of research to characterize typical situations. Okay? So the problem with system thinking is that it's not taught. Okay? You have to taught people. You know, it's not known. Okay, and it's not practiced. So when people are practicing it, maybe they don't do a lot of advertising, or it has been there for 30 years. Okay, 30 years. It started after the Second World War, when in the US state they started to bring people from different competency, philosophers, researchers, mathematicians, blah blah blah, to understand, you know, what was going on in the world. They discovered the circular causality, you know, and that was Forrester who did some. He was the inventor of the stock and flow notation. We don't really know who invented the causal loop diagram. I've done research. I'm not being able to see who has done that, but I have improved it. Let's say that's what.
Yeah, and the way we organize life and the way organizations are structured by departments, by disciplines in the college. You study a specific discipline, you are an engineer, and so on. That's the we kill the system view, the system thinking very early in our formation. Do you agree?
The main problem, because I was an engineer by training, so I can talk about it as well. Okay, at the beginning, okay, we hear decomposition. Okay, we have to decompose to understand, and then after that, we hear action, reaction, action, reaction. Okay, so with this mindset, you cannot think as a system thinker. Okay? It's just virtually impossible. You can do it naturally. Okay, some people are gifted, some are less gifted, but this has to be taught. You know, on the other thing is that when you look at the way system thinking is practiced, most of the time it's very fluffy, you know, a lot of concept, the 7 level of complexity. It's good, okay, but you're not going to talk with the executive for that. They're going to say, okay, we really like you, but come back when it's more simple, and I can apply it in my company, you know. See, in companies, we have a lot of silos, you know, it's blindness, you know, we see people are not able to connect the dots on they're always surprised. See, the problem in companies, we have a lot of non-linear behavior, okay? As soon as you have three stocks that interact with each other in a non-linear, in different ways, you have a non-linear systems. And that's, from the outside, it looks like chaos, you know. Most companies look like chaos. Okay? Why? It's not chaos, you know. It's just a behavior that we don't understand, you know. Because if we were able to pinpoint with this type of modeling what's the real underlying logic, it's no longer chaos, you know. It can be volatile. We can control it. We can better understand it. You
know? Perfeito. Temos tempo para mais uma pergunta, né? Estamos chegando a 1 hora de webinar, acho que está bom. 1 hour of webinar is okay. Se você tem interesse, a gente tem trazido essas abordagens sistêmicas para os cursos, em particular os cursos de inovação. Se você tem interesse nesse assunto e ainda não é nosso aluno, sugiro você procurar aqui, né, na FIA. Tem curso para você, mas os cursos de inovação, eu estou pondo no site aqui. Nós temos também, eu vou deixar o contato de uma pessoa que trabalha com as nossas...
I see a good question about the books, okay?
Ok. Aurélio,
go to my LinkedIn,
alguns livros em português. O Peter Senge,
you will see I have done an article that shows that tells you which book you can read if you want just to get an introduction, if you want to better start practicing, or if you're a good practitioner and you want to improve. I've made the selection, okay? And you can look at that. It's an article where you see some kind of a ball, a complex ball. You'll see I've not published a lot of articles. You will find it easily.
Então, falando em português aqui para o nosso aluno ou futuro aluno, ou alguém que queira saber mais, se você quiser saber sobre os nossos cursos, em especial os cursos de inovação, onde a gente traz esses temas e a gente procura trazer uma abordagem mais holística, esse contato é da pessoa responsável por falar dos cursos aqui, que é a Luciana. Se eu não fizer isso aqui no webinar, é minha missão, né? Eu tenho que falar sobre isso. Vocês podem até, inclusive, entrar em contato direto aí, apontando seu celular para o QR Code, já fala direto no WhatsApp, tá certo? Se você tiver interesse no tema inovação, no tema estratégia, nesses temas de complexidade, você pode encontrar os cursos aqui da FIA, né? Em especial, para quem quer uma formação executiva, o MBA Inovação e Empreendedorismo de Impacto, acho que é uma boa, é um curso que eu tenho trabalhado na coordenação já há alguns anos. Também agora a gente lançou, né, a gente releu um dos cursos que a gente tinha aqui, lançou como Master em Inovação Organizacional de Produtos e Processos. Também é um curso muito interessante em que a gente traz esse tema e possivelmente pode ser que a gente conte com o Laurent como um dos professores, vamos ver se a gente consegue viabilizar isso, né? Mas é algo que a gente procura trazer com uma abordagem mais holística, quebrar um pouco essa ideia dos silos nas organizações, essas ideias que a gente às vezes é formado e trabalha de forma que vai contra, né, a abordagem holística, e depois fica com aquelas várias perguntas que o Laurent trouxe muito bem. O que está acontecendo? Por que estamos fazendo errado? A gente faz mais e dá errado. E ficou muito claro, espero que para vocês também, naqueles diagramas, né, e com a metodologia e a forma como o Laurent releu, né, vamos dizer assim, o clássico diagrama de loop causal, né, o causal loop diagram, com as cores, com as identificações. Eu achei muito interessante isso. É um complemento muito, muito bom para quem já ouviu falar desse tema. Para quem nunca ouviu, fica bastante didático. Laurent, is there some final word, some final thought for our audience you want to share?
I would say start looking at it, learn for a little bit of it, start practicing as you can, because this will change a lot the way you look at things. It can be applied to many, many situations, including your own life. The universe works like that, So we have to go with the flow.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation, your thoughts and insights. Muito obrigado. Muito obrigado a vocês que acompanharam. Thank you, everyone. I don't know where are you from, but thank you, everyone. Obrigado a todos. É uma ótima noite. E a gente vai se falando, né? Mantenha o contato com a FIA, com esses eventos, esses e outros, né? Você tem muitos eventos acontecendo aqui. Realmente é um ecossistema muito pujante, né? De assuntos de interesse para os negócios. Afinal, somos uma business school. Então, continue em contato e aguardem outras oportunidades para trazer temas desse tipo em outros webinários e também, claro, dentro dos conteúdos dos cursos, como eu ressaltei para vocês. Laurent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope to see you again in other opportunities like that.
Com certeza.
Obrigado. Obrigado. Boa noite, pessoal.